Southern Gothic is a podcast that explores the history behind the American South's darkest days, greatest mysteries, and most chilling ghost stories. But today, we aren't hitting the history books. We're going to go down to the Campfire for our annual Halloween tradition of 13 spooky tales over the course of 13 nights. Hey y'all, so today we're gonna head out to Gatlinburg, Tennessee. And look, I know folks can be awful divided about the town. Some people say it's a bit of a tourist trap and a little cheesy. But look, it's also the gateway to the Great Smoky Mountains National Park, which is the most visited national park in the country. And as a result of that, Gatlinburg supports 14 million visitors every year. Which is absolutely wild because when I think of going out to the mountains, I think of solitude and, of course, quiet evenings around the campfire, right? Well, with that many visitors, for better or worse, it means that there's a ton of folklore surrounding the Smoky Mountains. And so I figured, why not tell the story of one particular spirit that haunts one of the nicer restaurants out there in Gatlinburg. It's a place called the Greenbrier, and supposedly it's a place where you can get a good steak dinner, but also encounter a ghost. When the Great Smoky Mountains National Park opened in 1934, approximately 40,000 people came through Gatlinburg to visit. And at that time, the cliffside building of the now well-known restaurant named the Greenbrier was a secluded mountain lodge for outdoorsmen like hunters and loggers. But there was also a young raven-haired woman named Lydia who lived there at the lodge in the mountains. Well, according to legend, Lydia was engaged to a gentleman from a nearby town. But on the day of her wedding, her groom didn't show. So for hours, Lydia sat there waiting for her fiancé, fully dressed in her beautiful gown, pacing and anxiously wondering if either something awful had happened to him, or possibly, maybe even worse, if he had changed his mind. But then, after hours of torturous waiting for her beloved, word finally came to Lydia, and she knew the awful truth. It seems that the night before their wedding, either in a last attempt at fun or a bout of cold feet or even just a lack of downright decency, the young man decided to partake in a bit of vice, and he ended up in the arms of a local sex worker. As you can imagine, Lydia was crushed. Not only was her heart broken and her plans for the future destroyed, but she just spent the entire day with all of the people who she loved waiting for this man who never came, filling her with an immense amount of shame. So the young bride went back to the lodge where she resided, and while still wearing her wedding dress, she climbed the stairs, threw a rope over the ceiling rafters, and then hung herself. Now y'all, as horrific as an end as that might be, it turns out that Lydia was not done. That woman was not all that she seemed, as even death couldn't stop this broken-hearted bride from exacting revenge on her ex-fiancé. Because only several days later, the body of her husband-to-be, that man who did not show up on their wedding day, was found out in the wilderness. It seems he had been violently mauled to death by some type of animal, either a bear or a mountain lion. Of course, when word spread throughout town of what happened, no one was really surprised, and they certainly weren't saddened. They knew what a bitter, broken heart could do and the power that it had, and they didn't blame Lydia for his death. They commended her. So today, folks who make the trek up the mountain to have a meal at the Greenbrier will notice the sign outside when they walk in, which says very clearly that the establishment is a, quote, food and spirit outpost. Now, this is certainly a play on words because if you head up to the bar to order some spirits, you should also take note of the condition of the rafter above it. as it seems to have just the right amount of wear and tear to suggest that a rope was once thrown over it to support something awful heavy. Heavy, like a body. As a result, it's well known throughout Gatlinburg that a visit to the Greenbrier often includes a visit by Lydia's spirit, who the staff there claims occasionally knocks over objects or even appears on the stairwell in her beautiful wedding dress. Even just last year, General Manager Rachel Saltz told a local news outlet that workers on the property have frequently heard the disembodied cries of Lydia over the years. And she claimed that, quote, "I've even had some customers say that they saw a woman on the stairs and will turn around and there's no one there." But Salt also assured the reporter that she's never had any bad encounter with Lydia's spirit. And although the restaurant has gotten awful popular over the years, the deceased bride doesn't seem to be vengeful in any way, at least not towards the patrons of the restaurant. So y'all, if you're ever out in East Tennessee and you want to have a nice dinner and a drink, but you don't have anyone to dine with, well, maybe head off that main strip of Gatlinburg and go up the mountain to the Greenbrier. You'll most certainly have company there. Southern Gothic is an independent podcast produced by siblings Brianne and Brandon Schexnayder. And this mini episode was part of our annual Campfire Stories, a series to get you in the spirit for Halloween. We'll be back with an all-new full-length episode on October 31st. So y'all stick around if you dare.